What's going on, boys, girls, and children of all ages? Even the dogs waiting live stream. If you can look over there, you'll see them over there. What are you waiting at, Dutch? What's happening tonight, fellas? Hope you can hear me. I got my tea, my old mug of tea here tonight, like a proper Englishman, even though I'm not an Englishman. Thought I'd jump on here. I was just at Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab live stream. We were talking about this guy, Will Sanders, going to build himself we're talking about he should build a Batmobile out of an Oldsmobile or whatever it was, because he found a Pontiac 400 engine that he's going to get for cheap or free or whatever it is, rebuild it. The rest of the car is junk, I guess, so he's going to just take the engine out of that and pile it into this homemade contraption that he's going to make. So that should be cool. You fellas got hot rod or motorcycle ATV related questions, jump on here. And there's Mr. Will Sanders in the house, just talking about your Batmobile hoopty idea, Will. I love it, man. I think it'd be great. Yeah, if you can get that car for cheap or free, buddy, jump all over that with both feet, because they're not giving them things away anymore. I mean, it's hard to find a Pontiac engine that's even rebuildable now. Maybe it isn't where you are, but up here in the Kanakistan, it definitely is. So anyway, Mopar Nut 62, what's going on, man? I'm on the tube tonight, boys, so I can make you guys moderators. So that's what I'm going to do. That's kind of why I jumped on this this deal, so I can make you guys all moderators. You guys are my regulars. So there, now you guys can put chat. You can put links, I believe, and other stuff in there. Plus, kick out all the rowdies when they come in, and they're not behaving themselves. Robert, what's happening? Good to see you on here. Hoppy's Junkyard Rally, what's up? What up, my northern brother, he says. Not too much, man. What are you doing? Let's see if these will come up in the chat. Message pinned. Okay. Oh, yeah, just at the top there. This isn't like StreamYard. I don't know if there's a way to actually add people's comments up here or not. So I'm just trying to figure out the YouTube platform. You'd think I would know the YouTube platform by now. I've been on it for, I don't know, 14 years or something like that, but I haven't figured this streaming out yet. Put user in time. Oh, no, I don't want to put you in timeout. And I'll just stop playing around with that right now. So what's going on, boys? What are you up to this week? As you probably saw from my videos, I'm working on the poop bikes and making a little bit of progress with one of them there, it looks like. I'll know tomorrow. I was supposed to get in the shop today, but of course it never works out when you're supposed to get in there to do something. There's always other things that come up. So anyway, tomorrow's the day. I'm going to dump some fuel down the throat of this thing and see if it'll do anything. How are the carbs doing? Tom Cook asked. Carbs are good, Tom. We were able to successfully bring those puppies back to life. We got rid of all the greenage, but there was 2 jets in there that were completely destroyed. And the reason why, boys, is because sometimes people put the wrong screwdriver in there to try and remove those jets. And you can't do that, man. You got to use the proper, the one I'm talking about. It comes down like that and then goes to a sharp point. It's an actual carburetor screwdriver. But luckily, Tom, I had those 2 jets in stock, and I was able to chuck them in there. So that's kind of cool. Adam, nice to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on. How are the old crusty Kawasaki's? They're just as crusty as ever, my friend. Mopar Nut 62. I like your term, the greenies. Yeah, we get the greenies a lot, buddy. And you've seen that before. I'm sure you have. Now, Robert, I'm working on my fiberglass hood. Remember, I forgot my hood pins and trashed my last one. Oh, that sucks. So what, you were chooching down the road at Mock Chicken, probably got run over by 7 different cars, did it, or what? That sucks when that happens. I've never actually had a car with hood pins, so that's never happened to me, but I have heard tell of it happening. Mopar Not 62 has to make full contact to turn the jet without stripping. Yeah, and these were all mangled to the point where I had to use compressed air to get them out, and I was lucky to even get them out of there, man, because you know what they're like when they get wedged up inside those little tiny holes, especially in a motorcycle carburetor where it's the jet extension holes and like the diffuser hole is really small, right? Hey, Jody, what's happening? I'm having myself a little beverage here myself tonight. Well, it isn't running yet, Hoppy. I think it'll run. It's showing all the right signs that I look for. I'll know tomorrow, bud. I'll shoot some video footage if I do happen to get it running for part 2 of the big epic Can We Get This Poop to Run series. So we'll shoot a little bit of footage of that and just see what goes on. Oh, it was airborne, Robert says, about his fiberglass hood. I bet it was. Ever had a car fast enough to pull the hood up? Yeah, well, if you forget the hood pins, probably come up on you. Yeah, stock jets. I had one time where we actually had to drill it out of there. I put it in a drill press, like a really good one, and put a pin vise on it, and had to carefully drill through the jet to get it out. It was a nightmare, and it was one of those carburetors where you couldn't just go get a used one. There's just none around, and that's the problem with working on older 80, 70 stuff. You don't know if you're going to be able to get anything for them, because when you go to look up parts, boys, for these old bikes, what comes up is NLA most of the time. What that means is no longer available. So you can't buy them unless there's a company that's making aftermarkets for your particular bike. I'll give you an example. My Virago has got a problem where once in a while, under certain conditions, it'll drop a cylinder, and it just drops for a second, and then it'll pick back up again. And I know everything else is good. I've checked the wiring. It's got new coils and everything. So what I determined it is the pulse generators inside the left engine cover, okay, next to the stator, there's these 2 little magnetic pickups. And what happens is when the flywheel's turning around, it's got a reluctor wheel that has like a bunch of teeth, and then it's got a gap in it. Well, when that gap comes over that magnet, it sends a pulse to the TCI or the computer to tell it to collapse the secondary windings on the coil, or the primary windings, to induce a spark down the plug. Well, what's happening is those things sit in hot oil for years, decades. This thing's an 84, right? And they break down over time, and the magnet gets weaker and weaker and weaker, and so does the wiring. So I wasn't able to, up until 2 weeks ago, get a new set of these. But there's a company called Caltrac down in California. Not the ones making the Caltrac bars, a different outfit. And they're making a reproduction set of brand spanking new pickup coils. Some people call them pulse generators. It's the same thing. It's basically just the same thing that points used to do back in the day. It's the same thing, only it's a magnet that does it instead of an actual set of opening and closing arms. So anyway, I ordered a set off eBay, and they'll be here this week. So yeah, thumbs up for War Amps. Hopefully that'll fix my problem. I'm just happy to get parts. Dale Wilford. Hey, thanks for coming on, Dale. Got an 08 brute force overheating radiators. Clean fan works as it's supposed to. Any help? Is the fan coming on, Dale, when it's supposed to? It has the thermostatic switch on it. It also has a little fan relay fuse under the seat. If the fan is coming on and it's still overheating, well, you either got air in the system, you have a problem with the impeller wheel on the water pump, or you got a blockage somewhere, bud. William Sanders, I'm all right. Yes, sir. Jody, do you know if it's plug and play on Ford wiring harnesses? In what regard? Like, are you trying to do something like put a fuel injection harness into a non-fuel injected vehicle or something? Or I'm not quite sure what you're getting at there. But anyway, yeah, so sometimes you can get parts for these things. A lot of times you can't. The older machines, even stuff that's relatively new. Let's say like a 2008, 9, or 10. I've even seen that some of the parts aren't available for those anymore. So it's a problem that is more pronounced with motorcycles than it tends to be with ATVs. They still are reasonably able to get parts for those. Plus, the ATVs are so popular that they have a large aftermarket support. That there's companies that are actually out there, making stuff, right? Trying to figure out what's tuning software I need. Oh, okay. Do you have the Ford factory computer in it, or are you running like an aftermarket ECU, Jody? Yeah, ask Hoppy, because I think he's using. Are you using Fuel Tech? I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, he would know more about that than I would. Usually, you have to find out what ECU you're using and then base whatever tuning software you need based on that. Ford factory computer, yeah. So you're probably using like either speed density or what was the other one? I forget. Yeah, there. Look, a whole bunch of answers coming in the chat. Dr. Art says HP tuners is very good for tuning to start off with. Yeah, what you want to do, Jody, if you're tuning it yourself, I don't know if you're going that route or not, but you'd be better off probably getting someone to help you with that, because building a map for the first time, a fuel and a timing map is very time consuming, and you don't want to blow up a new engine by making a mistake and momentarily having it go lean on you or something like that. So even if you could get just like a base map that would get the thing running safely and maybe a tad on the rich side, and then you could play with it from there, might be an idea. But anyway, man, there's a lot of folks on here tonight. I wish I could I wish I was on StreamYard now, and then I could highlight all these comments. Yeah, there you go. Hoppy's Junkyard says if you buy a Fuel Tech, it comes with all the tuning software you need, ECU and screen all in one. Well, that's a big advantage right there, man. If it's all inclusive, you don't have, there's not, like sometimes they sell you these all inclusive ones and you need like a plug, and then you need like their special A to Z adapter, and it's $900, and then you need this and that and the other thing. So that's never cool, in my opinion. But usually the better known companies like Fuel Tech would provide you with a really good deal for that, right? And they can remote tune your vehicle. Yeah, see, now that's another great option, especially since I just said about the building a map for the first time. If you're unsure, if you have the ability as somebody to go on the internet with, and they can actually, you give them like user permissions, and they can actually make changes to your setup right over the internet. I mean, that's fantastic. No longer do you have to drive 7 hours or 10 hours to some shop to get them to do it, right? Yeah, do a bunch of research, Jody, is always a good idea. Read, make phone calls, all that jazz, right? Terminator X. Yeah, Robert, I knew you were using that. I'm an 89 Mustang. Should be here this week. Okay, right on. Keep us informed as to how that is. Yeah, if you purchase one of their ECUs, Fuel Tech will do that for you. Yeah, it's just I've seen people make a lot of mistakes where not so much on the timing map, but on the fuel map, that for whatever reason they leaned it out in a certain spot and they got in trouble. Like, you shouldn't, when you're tuning an engine, you're building the maps, you shouldn't really rev the thing too hard initially until you're sure that your trim is right. And by trim, I mean your fuel trim and your timing trim is in the right spot and it's responding well. And then, of course, do a plug chop to show your plugs. Hoppy's Junkyard Rally. Look at my video. It's awesome. I hit show, but I don't know what will happen if I do that. Maybe nothing. But anyway, yeah, okay, maybe it is down there. But yeah, just be very careful with the tuning. You don't want to go lean. Lean is bad because and guys haven't done it. They have. But, the number. Having some internet issues here, boys. So bear with me. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, I'm having some internet problems for whatever reason. Can you guys hear me in the chat? You guys hear me okay in the chat there? Just give me a yes or a no. I'm having some, it's saying that it's my connection's unstable here. So just want to find out. But anyway, yeah, project cars are always fun. Now I have the fuel tank for the Ranger, boys, the brand new one. Okay, she's all welded up. It's ready to go back in the truck. The only thing that's kept me so far from not putting it in there is pure laziness, to be completely honest. I've been working on these other bikes and, life, right? Cutting grass and just doing other things when I should be fixing the truck. So anyway, it'll go in this week. We'll make sure we get it in there, and I'll do a video on that of me firing it up. And I'm going to put some new filters and I'm going to run some new lines and do some other good things to facilitate that, because really we got 10 months of winter and we got 2 months of bad sledding here in Canada. So you got to take full advantage of of the ability to drive the thing, right? So I want to get in here and start making some hits with it. So we gotta get going here, get off my lazy duff. And actually today, was a stellar day out. It was 30 degrees here at 3:00 this afternoon. And, that's Canadian weather. That's not American, obviously, but I think that translates to about 85 or something like that for my American brethren. But anyway, yeah, it was nice and warm. Humidity here in Nova Scotia, though, is so bloody high. It's ridiculous how high it is. You sweat in air conditioning here. It gets so sticky. That I don't know if you guys have ever experienced it, where the clothes stick right to you and you just feel gross, eh? So the minute you go outside and even reach in your toolbox to get a, you're already covered in sweat, right? It's like margarine's coming right out of your pores. You know what I'm saying? Just bad, right? It sounds like Canada wouldn't work out for me. Yeah. Yeah, 4 seasons: June, July, August, and winter. Yeah, no doubt. The new Skadoos make some grunt, Jody. There's a few that are coming up to 180, 190 horsepower. We sell a turbo sled that's right around that mark. So you can get going pretty quick on them things. 85 to 92 here in New Jersey. I hate humidity and bodywork. Yeah, well, you know what I'm saying, man. You just pick up a hammer and you're wrecked. You're covered in sweat and just you wore right out, and all you did was go over and pick up a hammer. Right? It's Ohio, swamp ass all day. Yeah, you guys get the same weather we do in Nova Scotia. We get a little more humidity than you guys do in Ontario, but you get similar weather for sure. Adam, how did you find my channel? I'm kind of curious as to how you came across my nonsense. It's always good to ask, because it makes it so you can sort of figure out what those analytics they're trying to tell you for your channel is about. 190 horsepower, great power to weight ratio. Oh yeah, those Skadoos, they're ridiculous, man. They fly. And they hurt a lot of their owners, because these guys some of them aren't accustomed to that kind of power. And there's been guys that have put them right through walls, into trees, all kinds of stuff. I've got pictures, little grenade, as we call it here, right? It's hot today here. Here's what Will Sanders is saying. Hot today here, and I went to a car show. Oh, cool, buddy. I'd love to go to a car show. But I like the heat. Yeah, I don't mind the heat so much. I can take a lot of heat. I was in Texas for 3 months. I know what real heat is about, but without the humidity, though. Humidity is where I kind of draw the line, because it just makes the heat that much more, I don't know what the word is, ridiculous, right? Yeah. I refuse to wear shorts so I get hot. Yeah, I'm the same way, man. I wear like long pants in the shower. My legs are so white you can see them from space, right? But anyway, yeah, I'm actually wearing shorts today, though. Believe it or not, they're nothing special. I think they're just basically gym pants that I wore the bottoms out, so I cut them off with scissors, made my own shorts, and not straight, of course, crooked as a ram's horn. But anyway, here's Jody. There was a dude down in Orlando, Florida, who put a snowmobile on the track in Orlando Speed World. That sucker went deep in the 920s. There's been some in the 7s, Jody. High 7s, low 8s. There's a guy that's got a record on a Yamaha Skidoo for, like, it's a world record for speed. Bugs love my legs. I'm a buffet for them. Yeah, I'm a buffet for ticks. I go outside and turn around 3 times and there's a tick. There's like 2 ticks on me. Like, the dog doesn't even get as many ticks on him as I do. And which is weird because I'm usually covered in gear oil and all kinds of other garbage. You'd think that they wouldn't want anything to do with that, but they seem to be attracted to it. Yeah, they're making them ridiculous, though, Will. They're grenades to darts and go gather up your wallet and go spend another 30 grand for another sled, right? They are fast. There's no denying that. They're quick. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're making turbo sleds now, Jody, like I said, that are just redonkulous. Yeah, they do have quarter-mile drags for them. Like, you guys do race them. Only problem with that is that Skadoos are tuned. You'd have to have a custom ECU tune on that, because Skadoos are tuned for colder weather. Like, that's how their maps are made. Their timing map and their fuel maps made for cold. So when you get them in like 80, 90 degree air, they don't run. Like, you have to retune them for that type of environment, right? Yeah, they get snowmobile clutches and stuff in them. And guys that have the higher horsepower sleds usually beef them up, but the turbo ones come already with a pretty beefy setup in it. Bugs love the smell of gas, Mopar Not 62 says. Well, maybe down there, you like here the ethanol gas, even the bugs don't like it. And I mean, who can afford to drive around $7 a liter race gas? Not too many people I know. Gasoline out of the pumps, even what we can get here is not all that great. And I think it's $1.36 a liter here now at Shell gas station for premium fuel, which is nowadays pretty near. And it's just like, well, you guys that follow my channel, you saw the insides of those carburetors. It looked like a golfing green in there. I should have put my T and my Titleist right on the float bowl and shot one out into the outfield. It was just totally right. The old gas didn't used to do that. You could leave fuel in them for years and then go put a battery in it and the thing would fire, right? The old leaded fuel. That's Wilson. What's that a liter in gallons? 450 a gallon. That is shit, man, you're making me do math. Yes, see, there's Imperial gallons is what we have up here because we have the metric system. Ooh, up in Kazakhstan, and there's a U.S. gallon, right, which is different. I think the Imperial gallon is 4.7 some liters. I'm not sure what the U.S. gallon is, but anyway, yeah, it's too much. That's the end result of the whole conversation. It's too much, right? We like a year ago it was under $1 for the same fuel. It was I forget now. I think it was 80 some cents, 84 cents a liter. So I was driving around in my truck like it's cool, like everywhere. But my truck, the Ranger's not too bad as long as I keep my foot out of the go pedal. But it's hard to do, boys. You guys know. It's not the easiest thing if I was just keep my foot out of the secondaries, just keep them, like, you know what I mean? drive like there's an eggshell on my gas pedal, it'd be fine. But who can do that? Adam, do you think you'll go single carb on the old cow side? Nah, we're going to stay with those carbs. You probably could build a single manifold though and put a single carb on there if you wanted to. A lot of the Kawasaki motorcycles, they come with carb or whoever, but you sacrifice throttle response for that. So if you do much better with a smaller. Okay, Tom, come on here with some info. US gallon is 3.78 liters. Okay, right on. Thanks, Tom. So yeah, so it's a smaller measurement than the Imperial gallon. Something tells me it's 436, the Imperial. If one of you guys is bored, just look it up on the interwebs. How many liters in an Imperial gallon? The metric gallon. Ooh. I guess Canada wanted to be cool and pretend that they're part of Europe or something, so they went to the metric system back in the 60s or 70s. I think it was late 60s. Anyway, whatever. I always like to do things in the old method. Like most of the things I work on, it's in metric, like the intake valve and exhaust valve settings are all millim thou. Intake 6 to 8 thou exhaust. That's a basic similar rule for just about any machine on the planet. And if it's an air-cooled engine, you allow a little more room for expansion. But yeah. In any case, the fuel's no good, in my opinion. They should have stayed with leaded gasoline because it has another added benefit that a lot of people, especially you younger guys, don't understand. Back then, they had lead in the fuel. So what the lead used to do would act as a little bit of a cushion so that when the valves shut, they didn't slam against steel. There was a little bit of a cushion there in the lead in the fuel, and it helped usually prolonged your top end a little bit. But then, of course, there was more engine damage done because they were revving the crap out of the whole cars anyway, right? So, I mean, RPMs is what ruins it. It's what wears them out faster than anything. I mean, if you're going to drive hard and you're going to rev hard, expect to not have super long engine longevity, right? On most things. But anyway, the modern motorcycles, though, they're turning them, I think, 16 or 17,000 RPM now. I saw a Honda not too long ago, and it had a 16,000 RPM red line. So that's getting up there, boys. Like, that's wow. Especially those sport bikes. I mean, they just, and then they're wondering why they're clapped out at 40,000 kilometers or like 28,000 miles. And they're rattly. They sound like a sewing machine that went wrong. It's the reason why is because they never changed their oil enough. They're running black Army boot oil in there, and then they're revving them to 16,000 RPM. Well, you got to change the oil and filter a lot and use clean, good oil if you're going to be doing that kind of shenanigans. Mopar Not 62, cushion for the hot glowing exhaust valve. That's right, buddy. Yeah, you know it. Yeah, you get her smoking hot. And Volkswagen valves used to get so hot that they used to put sodium in the exhaust valves to dissipate some of the heat. They also did in like World War II fighter type engines, like the Double Wasp and that was in the Wildcat and stuff like that. They used to put sodium exhaust valves. There's probably a whole bunch of other ones used to do it, but that was one way to get the heat out of the combustion chamber. Because you got to think about shooting in there. If you're making good power, imagine the cylinder pressures first of all, but imagine how much heat's in there. Like an enormous amount of heat. This is why like water cooled engines typically last longer, because you got water jackets around the cylinders and around the heads and stuff, and it's keeping things at bay. Where you got an air cooled engine, the thing's just, it's on meltdown all the time. And then you think about this, you're sitting there idling on an 85 degree. No wonder they didn't last. They had to be rebuilt frequently. I mean, the wear, the oil temperatures in those things used to, I know the Volkswagens, the air-cooled VWs used to be ridiculous. And with those things, exhaust valve in cylinder 3 used to overheat and break off, and then the tip of the valve would fall down on top of the piston, and give you a nice day. Longer, and their hearts go really slow. While hummingbirds live short lives, hearts beat like a motor sport bike revs. Yeah, well, there you go, right? Cruiser engines last twice as long because they're bigger and beefier and they don't have the revs, right? If this bike I was working on right now, this 81 Kawasaki, if it happened to be a sport bike engine, it probably wouldn't be alive, or it probably wouldn't be in the shape that it's in. But again, it comes down to whoever owns the thing too. Like, it's not necessarily just the fault of the machine, it's the owner most of the time. So there's some people that take really, really good care of their stuff, and then there's some people that don't take as good a care of their stuff. So it all tends to come out in the wash, so to speak. But you can tell an engine that's been well cared for and it's been maintained over its life. It's had frequent valve adjustments done. It's had oil changes frequently. I mean, all you got to do for that is just pop the valve cover off. It doesn't matter which one, and just look at the condition of the rocker arms and the springs and everything in there. Regular service, right? I was watching a documentary today, and it was about the British had a carrier out near Italy, and they were attacking these Italian battleships with these airplanes called Swordfish. And a Swordfish was a great big, they called it the Flying Stringbag. It was a biplane, and it was in service right up until 1945. And what a cool video it was. And it was showing them, they only flew at 100 miles an hour, okay? That was their top speed. But they were so slow and so maneuverable that were trying to shoot them down, weren't able to get a good fix on them because they were so slow, right? So, and plus these things, you could shoot them just full of holes like Swiss cheese and they'd still keep on trucking. And I think they had like a 600 horsepower Pegasus engine on the front of it or whatever, but it was so bloody slow. But man, those things would thump on for like hundreds of miles, you know what I mean, with a big heavy torpedo underneath the, and it was a 3-person airplane, an open cockpit. So it had 3 guys. It had a pilot, a navigator, and then a weapons officer who was, he manned the radio and was in charge of the weapons, like the torpedo and bombs or whatever it was. And it was, I'm kind of a big history nut. I like anything mechanical like that. It kind of perks my interest. That's Mopar not saying. That's why I'm a big block guy. I'm done at 7,000 RPM, but plenty of torque. Air-cooled engines need more oil changes, period. Yeah, they do for sure. I've seen some really sad examples of air-cooled stuff that wasn't getting oil, because that's a lot of the way of how they cool those air-cooled engines is with the engine oil. You know, the oil takes a place of the coolant. It takes a lot of heat away from combustion. And when you have dirty oil, you can't carry heat away as effectively. Love World War II tech. Yeah, well, the reason I like that stuff, man, is because that shit worked. I mean, nobody can argue that fact. It worked. And if it didn't work, they wouldn't have had a biplane type airplane right up to the end of the war. You know, when everything was like a cantilever, aluminum skin monoplane, pretty well everything else was, right? And 300 miles an hour plus. This thing was like a lumbering, big goose lumbering around at 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? Old school tech, but it worked. Yeah, big blocks make torque. There's no question about that, my friend. Not necessarily a Chrysler guy, but I would love to put a 440 in something at some point in my life. They make a lot of torque. There's some guys that even like them better than the Hemi. The Hemi gets all the glory, though, because it's the one that's supposedly the big race winner, and You know, I heard something though that I didn't really know why they called the Chevy 350 a mouse engine. Well, I found out why is because what are elephants scared of? Mice, right? So it was a thing between Chrysler and Chevrolet, right? A little play on words, so to speak. The Merlin engine was supercharged, and it still is. They get up past 500. Oh yeah, man. The best thing they ever did to the Mustang was to take that Packard engine out of there and throw that Merlin in there. And then that's what made it the superplane that it was. Merlin was a fantastic engine. And I like there's you can go on YouTube and see videos of guys that own Merlin engines, and they have them on like a stand and they run them once in a while. And Guy Martin, if you guys follow racing like Isle of Man type racing, you'll know who Guy Martin is. He's got a show on YouTube called Guy Martin Proper. He owns a Merlin, and it takes 120 octane aviation fuel to run this thing, right? And I forget what he told me, like on the video I watched, what it costs him to run that engine for like 15 minutes. I think it's $300 worth of fuel or something to that effect. But it's pretty cool. I mean, that was fine engineering for those days and still fine today. The Allison engine was in the P39 Air Cobra, and they also had it in the P40 was the Allison. And they put that engine, Mopar, in Sherman tanks had an Allison engine in it as well. But yeah, they were a good engine. They just weren't really suited for a performance type application. 440, yeah. I don't know. I mean, the six pack's cool and everything, but it's probably a lot of it is show too, right? I can't see why a well sorted 4-barrel wouldn't do just as well as a 6-barrel would. Maybe I'm totally wrong. I don't know, but to my mind, I think a well sorted single 4-barrel would be just the ticket. Or if you can get it sorted out, a dual 4-barrel setup. I know Chrysler did that too. They had two 660s or whatever it was on a tunnel ram type deal, but they weren't like this. They were side to side. I think Chevrolet did that too. You guys all coming on here, and I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your interest in my channel, and I'll do everything in my power to keep it interesting and you know, keep making videos for you guys. And you know, if you guys have questions or comments or whatever, shout them out. I mean, I don't mind helping anybody out. I don't mind asking or answering questions. You know, I'm not claiming I know everything here, boys. I don't. I've been doing it a while, but I mean, you always learn something every time you're doing a new project or you're working on something maybe you don't have a lot of experience with. You always learn something, and that's what keeps you going. In my opinion, that's why I continue to be interested in mechanics, is because I learned some new things, and it just keep adding it to your knowledge base, you know, over and over again, and eventually you get to the point where you know you're solid, right? But anyway, you fellas have a good night, and I think I'll just cut her off right here. And thanks everybody for coming on. I love talking to you guys and having you on here, and we'll chat at you real soon. Cheers. Thumbs up for War Amps. I hope you guys like my